All right, let's talk about the humble purchase order. You know, it's a document that should be super simple, but so often it's the very thing that kicks off all kinds of chaos in your procure-to-pay process. So what if you could just fix it right at the source and make the whole thing totally reliable? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today.
I mean, it's a question that drives anyone in finance or procurement crazy, right? How can something so fundamental, so basic, go wrong so often? You know the drill. Just one bad purchase order, and suddenly you've got this domino effect of problems, wasting time, burning through money, and even straining your relationships with suppliers. So what is really going on under the hood?
Well, the problem, almost every single time, starts right at the beginning, the moment that purchase order is created. Especially in manual environments, honestly, it's just a recipe for disaster.
And I'm sure these errors look painfully familiar. We've all been there, haven't we? Incorrect prices pulled from some old spreadsheet, missing tax details, vendor information that's completely out of date, or, my personal favorite, super vague item descriptions. Each one seems like a tiny little thing, but really it's like a crack forming in the very foundation of your entire process.
And yeah, this is where the real headache begins, because these aren't just little typos you can fix later. No, think of them more like ticking time bombs that you've just planted right inside your P2P process, just waiting to explode. It's so easy to connect the dots, isn't it? That wrong price on the PO, bam, invoice mismatch. That outdated vendor info, you guessed it, payment delays, and some very unhappy suppliers. Every single one of these errors forces your procurement and your AP teams to drop everything and play detective, wasting so much time and energy. So this really paints a clear picture, doesn't it? You've got two paths. On one side, you have the manual process, which is just a magnet for errors, disputes, and delays. But on the other side, you have a smart process that delivers accuracy, compliance, and alignment. It's a totally different way of operating, a fundamental shift.
Okay, so how do we make that leap from total chaos to being in control? Well, this is where the idea of smart PO creation comes into play. It's all about completely rethinking how a purchase order is born, transforming it from a tedious manual chore into a slick, automated, and intelligent process.
So let's unpack what that really means. When we say accurate, we mean the data is right from the get-go, no mistakes. Compliant means it's following all your internal rules, your procurement policies, your spending limits, the whole shebang. And aligned means it perfectly matches the contract terms you worked so hard to negotiate. And you know what makes this all happen? Automation. That's the engine driving everything.
But what does this automation actually look like in practice?
Let's pull back the curtain and look at the core mechanics, the nuts and bolts that make it possible to create a perfect purchase order every single time. It all boils down to this really simple but incredibly powerful four-step process. First, the system pulls in trusted data. Second, it validates everything. Third, it enforces the right approval workflows. And finally, it sends the PO to the supplier. Now, we're going to focus in on those first two steps because they are absolutely crucial for guaranteeing accuracy. So, step one is all about having a single source of truth. The magic here is that instead of a person manually typing in information and maybe making a mistake, the system automatically pulls everything from pre-approved, totally reliable sources. We're talking data straight from the purchase requisition, your official vendor master records, the actual contract terms, and your item catalogs. All of that is used to build the PO. Zero guesswork involved.
Okay, next up is the validation step. And this part is so important. You can think of it like an automated quality control checkpoint. The system is actively cross-referencing all the key fields, pricing, tax codes, payment terms, you name it, and checking them against your master data and your contracts. It's basically a digital guardrail that makes it impossible for errors to sneak through onto that final document. And the result of this whole structured process? It's beautiful in its simplicity. The purchase order is guaranteed to be 100% clean and correct before it even leaves your system. You're completely shifting your focus from frantically fixing problems to just preventing them from ever happening in the first place. Okay, so we've nailed the creation process. Now for the big question. What's the payoff? What are the real, tangible benefits that start to ripple out across the entire organization when you get that PO right from the start? Well, the outcomes are huge, and they're all connected. First off, when the PO is perfect, the invoice that comes back is way more likely to be a perfect match. That means a massive reduction in exceptions. Second, because you've baked all your policy checks right into the creation process, you get much stronger compliance with every single purchase. And finally, think about your suppliers. When they get POs that are clear, correct, and consistent every time, collaboration just gets so much smoother. You build trust.
See, the purchase order isn't just another piece of paper. It's the foundation of your entire P2P process. And when that foundation is solid rock, the whole structure you build on top of it becomes stable, reliable, and way more efficient. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's a simple but really powerful idea. If you want to stop fighting fires downstream, invoice exceptions, payment delays, you have to go upstream and fix the source. A better PO is always the first, most important step to a healthier P2P cycle. And that really leaves us with one final question for you to think about. When you look at your own organization, are you spending all your time putting out those downstream fires? Or are you investing in building a solid foundation of accuracy right from the very beginning? To put it simply, is your PO process actually built to last? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.